YouTube, we're back, of course, talking some FF7 Remake Part 3, and we are asking the question, is it possible that we get this game next year? It sounds kind of crazy, but hear me out. So, when you go back to last year, a lot of us were speculating that we'd get something for Part 3 this year, specifically summer of this year, and it was based on how they kind of did the marketing for Rebirth. As I'm sure most of you know, Rebirth's development time was about 3 years. There's obviously a 4-year time difference between Remake and Rebirth, right? 2020, 2024. But a year or so of that time frame was used to develop the Yuffie DLC, Episode Intermission. And this isn't like speculation on the community's part or some shit. This has been told to us by one of the devs, specifically Katase, in the Rebirth Ultimania. We were told this by people translating the Ultimania last year, that, again, DLC took about 1 year, Rebirth took about 3 years. So when you factor that in, Rebirth's development started in 2021, and we got our first look at the game a year later, summer 2022. It's kind of where the speculation for our first look at Part 3 kind of came from, is how they handled Rebirth, right? Rebirth got its first look in about a year into development, and in fact, we're being kind of generous speculating summer of this year, because Rebirth came out February of last year, right? We're speculating summer of 2025, which is actually like a year and however many months. So we were actually giving the devs a bit more time to come up with like a first look trailer or whatever. So why I bring up this question about the potential of us getting the game next year is sort of based on the recent interviews we got with Hamaguchi, where he keeps talking about info for Part 3. Because the language that he's using to me doesn't sound like just a simple teaser. Because we're all kind of speculating now at the Game Awards, right? At the end of the year, we might get our first look at the game. But I don't know that we're going to get just like a simple teaser like we got for Rebirth, right? Because Rebirth, we got the first look trailer. It was very short. It gave us a little bit of look at the game, a title reveal, and that's kind of it. And we kind of got really nothing for the most part for a whole goddamn year until Summer Game Fest 2023. We just kind of use that as a baseline. If we were to just get a simple kind of first look teaser trailer at the end of this year, we wouldn't, in theory, get the marketing started until Game Awards next year, which I just don't foresee happening. For starters, that would just be kind of weird to do, but also Hamaguchi is saying more info, right? We're not just going to get like a teaser and then they're silent for a year. He's talking about more info for the game, which again, to me, sounds like a trailer and then like potentially marketing, at the very least, like some interviews giving us information about the game, talking about the game, aspects of the game, the gameplay, whatever, right? He's talking about more info for the game. So again, I just don't foresee us getting a simple like teaser at the end of this year and then they're like silent for a large portion of 2026. That just doesn't make a lot of sense. If we're actually getting like some sort of like full-blown kind of trailer at the end of the year and them actually giving us info and interviews and details about the game, it sounds like the marketing is kind of kicking off. And why that matters is that when it comes to Rebirth and also Remake, the marketing for those games has been less than a year. So of course, ignoring the initial reveal of Remake back in 2015, the 2019 like re-reveal, as I always call it, we got a state of play teaser in May of 2019, and then the big E3 showcase in June of 2019. But the game was supposed to come out March and then delayed to April of 2020, right? So again, less than a year. Then of course had the first look trailer for Rebirth in 2022, but the marketing didn't start yet. It wasn't until Summer Game Fest 2023, right? Which is summer 2023, June 2023. The game came out February of 2024. So again, less than a year. So all that is to say that if the marketing were to kind of start at the end of this year, beginning of next year, the game almost has to come out in 2026, just based on what we have. The marketing's always been less than a year for the FF7 Remake games. Unless they wanted to do like a full year of marketing, kind of counting down to the anniversary for FF7, of course, 2027 is the 30th anniversary of FF7. Also the 40th anniversary of the Final Fantasy franchise. So they could potentially go a different route with the third game where they do want to market it for a full year, again, kind of counting down to the anniversary. But just based on what we have with the Remake project thus far, it's always been less than a year of marketing. And to be clear, I fully do expect the game to come out in 2027. That makes the most sense. I don't know why they would do anything differently. But we're just kind of talking about the possibilities here. And just some of the language that's being thrown out there in terms of like info and stuff soon for Part 3. It just kind of feels like we're getting more than just a simple teaser at the end of the year. And if that is the case, again, it feels like it maybe come out in 2026 unless they go a different route with the marketing, which I would actually love. I would actually love if there was like a full year this time for the last game, kind of marketing the game, talking about the game. This is the last part of the trilogy, right? The last part of the story. I would kind of like them to spend a lot of time talking about it as much. It is also possible that we could get like a teaser trailer or a first look trailer at the end of this year, and then it's like a short amount of time and then the marketing kicks off, as opposed to like the full year that Rebirth got, right? Maybe they give us a brief look at the game. Obviously, I would assume a title reveal. And then they give us more info through like interviews and things like that around that time. And then they tell us to like wait till like summer 2026, we'll say. And then that's when like the marketing kind of kicks off, similar to Rebirth. Which I do think is a possibility, because actually think about it now, like the marketing for both Remake and Rebirth has started in the summer. E3 2019 and then Summer Game Fest 2023, right? So like they seem to like to kick off the marketing for the Remake games in the summer. So if that was the case, again, it would emulate the marketing they did for Remake and Rebirth, where they kind of kick it off summer of next year, and it's probably less than a year of marketing, right? And it drops sometime early 2027, pretty close to the anniversary. Something else to take note of too when we talk about Part 3 is that it's been being developed for quite a long time at this point. For sure, we know about 18 months as of right now. We were told at the beginning of this year in January by Hamaguchi that they were about 9 months into making Part 3, that they had started in March or April of 2024. Simple math here, of course, January of this year to October of this year, 9 months, 9 months, 9 months, year and a half they've been for sure making Part 3. Maybe something a little more interesting is that we were told as far back as 2022 that they were already starting to develop Part 3 in some capacity. So we'd got some dev messages in summer of 2022 around the 25th anniversary live stream where we got that initial reveal of Rebirth, and Nomura had mentioned that they had already started making Part 3. Specifically, he had said, in fact, some development has already begun on the third title. I myself have started on the development and working towards the completion of the series. Now, clearly that would have been like early stage development stuff back then, but still, like Part 3's been being made for more than 3 years at this point, almost 3 years and 4 months, but for sure a year and a half of like actual development. So like they would be pretty far along potentially. Also, you got to factor in the carryover from Rebirth to the third game where most of the world's already done, right? There's not that much they have to do, technically speaking. Like most of the world's assets are going to be reused, right? They still got to develop, the rest of the continents and stuff like that, and underwater stuff, and the skybox where we're going to be flying around, and whatever goes into the high wind shit, right? There's still a lot to do for sure, but like a good chunk of the game was already made when they finished Rebirth. By the time we get to the end of this year, the Game Awards, where we expect to potentially see Remake Part 3, Rebirth is almost 2 years old, which is like long after the time frame we got of like Rebirth's development to the first look, right? Which was almost exactly a year. So for me, it'd be a little bit strange to wait almost 2 years after Rebirth came out to just get like a simple teaser trailer at the end of this year and then silence for however long, right? It's not impossible, but it'd be a little bit strange. Which again is how we circle back around to the discussion of potentially getting the game next year, because it feels like we'd get more than that at the end of this year. It's been like that goddamn long since Rebirth came out, right? That like a simple teaser would be a little bit strange at this point. A teaser made sense the summer of this year, and then maybe we wait like 6 months, a year or something to get to the actual marketing. But to wait all this time just to simply give us like a little teaser trailer and a title reveal and that's it would be a little bit weird. This is, of course, Square Enix, so you never know with them, right? They could do that shit. They're kind of weird when it comes to their games. You never know what they're going to do exactly. They seem to be a little bit better now where they want to like show off a game when it's like close to releasing. So that's another thing that kind of leans in favor of potentially the 2026 thing, where like if they're going to show the game at the end of this year, why would they wait all the way until goddamn 2027 to actually release the game? Like that's something that kind of leans in favor of the next year release window or whatever. To be honest, there have been people in the community speculating 2026 for quite a long time. I've seen it in my comments, several times over the last like a year or so. Most people seem to think 2027 because it does make the most sense. And obviously, based on what Katase said, 2027 makes the most sense. There also are people that think 2028. I think those people are just pessimistic. Obviously, don't know any more about the development than you guys watching this video. But there's just no way that it comes out any later than 2027, right? That'd be too damn long. We've only heard positive things about the development of the game. We're told about a 3-year development period, right? Like there's just no way it extends to fucking 2028. I will say one of the things that does go against the 2026 release date potentially is that it would have to release in later 2026 because they'd obviously have to market the game throughout the year. If it's less than a year, it'd come out later 2026. And that's just not something they've done so far with Remake. It's been, again, at the beginning of the year. Unless they want to switch things up, which would be a little bit strange, but maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty much it for the video, my dudes. A little bit different kind of a video. More of like a dialogue, a conversation with you guys, I guess, if you want to call it that. Something we haven't done in kind of a long time, I'd say. But it's something I was thinking about the last like day or two. Just some of the way like Hamaguchi's kind of speaking about info for Part 3 soon. It just feels like more than just a simple teaser trailer. So I just want to kind of get that idea out there and see what you guys think, right? In a video format, what you guys think about the potential of 2026. I fully expect 2027. It just makes the most sense. It'd be stupid not to release it then. But it also, to me, feels like it's been a little too long to where like a simple teaser trailer would be kind of strange at the end of the year. These, of course, are just my thoughts on the matter. Pass off to you guys. What are your thoughts on the potential of us getting Remake Part 3 next year? And when do you expect it to come out? 2027, 2028, 2026? Either way, my dudes, that is the video. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Social network in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, ffvii. That's it. Bye.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Rogaine, or leave it like Cobain.